Win up to £25,000. The Community Lottery, a subscription-based lottery that allows you to continue to support good causes that matter. When you win, good causes win. Every month, eligible good causes have the opportunity to win a share of funds that could help them continue the good work that they do in our communities. To apply, there's no complicated forms, nor do you have to be a registered charity. Just grab your phone, send us a 60-second video explaining your good cause and the difference having extra funding would make to your project. Visit thecommunitylottery.com. Hit the play button and sign up for either 13 weekly draws or by direct debit for just £4.35 that gives you 4 weekly draws. You could have the chance of winning £25,000. The aim of the Community Lottery is to create an additional source of funding that will enable good causes to undertake innovative projects that matter. If you're in, the communities win.
You got me running. Shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up.
Good evening, and welcome to the After Dark show. This is your girl, Yvonne Michelle, and we are back for the second series. We ran the longest series in the world last year, and through this year, through the lockdown, through the second lockdown, the first lockdown, the third lockdown, all the lockdowns, every week we were here, and we've taken a break, a 6-week break, and I can't believe the time has gone so quickly. Where has the time gone? Come on now, tell me, how are you? For those of you who are just logging on, come on in, and welcome to the new show. Right, so I can hear a little bit of feedback coming, and so I just want to get our technical crew to kind of get that sorted. But we are here, we are back. And we have a lot to say. I've got a lot to say. Have you got a lot to say? So those of you who are just logging in, welcome those who are on Facebook, welcome those who are on YouTube, and welcome those who are in the After Dark exclusive membership club. Good evening. And how are you? We have got a packed evening. The panel is here. We've got some new members of the panel this season, as well as some of the old ones. Or should I say the original ones, not the old ones, because they're not old. And also we have a wonderful guest, the Modern Man coach. We have Fidel Beauhill coming in a few minutes to talk to us about what he's doing, but not only that, really to start talking about how modern day men have changed, how modern day women have changed. And we really want to go and deep dive into that. And we also have returning to us, we have the young Jadon Bellot that is going to be here also this evening, because he has some views. So those of you who are in the Facebook community group, you would have seen the membership group. You would have seen that I posted something, a young girl, and her perception, she's now not in a relationship, but she was in a relationship, and her partner had treated her well financially. And let's say that this young lady has some thoughts on how that relationship in particular should go. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to show that clip. We're going to show another clip as well. We have another clip from a young man, a British young man, who has an idea about modern day women. So who better to talk about the modern day man and the modern day woman than the modern day coach himself, Fidel? And also, he is being coined as the king maker. So we're going to find out all about that tonight. The king maker. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And what I love more than anything is the fact that I'm seeing more and more men coming forward. Last season, we had some wonderful men. Tony Crossbody, good evening, sir, if you're watching. Mr. C, good evening, sir, if you're watching. And they put some ideas on the show. They came in and they were talking about women, and they were putting their points of view across and saying, you know, men are not given the platform to talk. Well, we have certainly given men a platform. And today, on the After Dark show, it's all about men. Next week as well, it's going to be about men. And so I'm just going to let you know what's going on before we even get into tonight's show. So first of all, the first thing that I want to say is that we have a retreat. Yes, we do. We have a retreat, and it will be at the Whittlebury Hall Spa and Golf Complex. And that's the 24th to the 26th of September, 2021. It is a lovely, lovely space. It's a 4-star hotel, and we have a retreat. Now, to attend this retreat, it is going to cost you. It is not cheap. You're going to be able to have a spa. You're going to be able to do golf. You're going to be able to be in part of all our workshops and everything to do with relationships. So this is to build us. This is for us to grow. Because when you're in this space, we're not here for likes. I just want to say this. The After Dark show is not about likes, even though we like you to like and share and subscribe. But what we are about is solution. We are of the more mature age group. And so we are here to put some things in place so that we can leave a real legacy. All this chit chat, pulling each other down, men pulling women down, women pulling men down. That's not what this platform's for. This is for us to raise up kings and queens. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the kingmaker himself, Mr. Fidel Beauhill. Hey!
What an introduction. Hi, everyone.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I've been excited all week. I'm like, wow.
This is good. I've just been talking to some friends of yours, Mrs. Shah Wasmond. I've just been on a call with her.
Oh, yes.
And a couple of other people from the cartel that say, oh, we love Yvonne. So yeah, there you go.
Fantastic. So we are here. And I've been seeing so many things. I've been watching your lives, been really interested in what you've been doing, because I've noticed you've got the Modern Man Coach, and then you've got the King Maker. So for me, at the end of last season, and I know you've been on the show before, at the end of last season, towards the end, we had some great men, really strong men on the show who were really laying it down and saying how they feel that women, you know, the modern day women, the women who are, you know, quite forthright and not giving men a chance to speak. Men have been, you know, the underdog for 40 years and all of this stuff. And so in coming back to this and seeing what you're doing in your space, I thought, you know what, you would be the perfect man, because for me it is about raising people up. It's about creating platforms. It's about giving people the space to let other people know what they're doing. So I'm really, really excited, but I want you to tell our views who you are, what you do, and what you're about at the moment.
My name is Fidel Beauhill. My business is officially the Modern Man Coach. I'm the founder of the Modern Man Club, which is a men's Facebook community on Facebook. I've just recently launched the Modern Man Coach Academy because last year we discovered that only in the coaching space, 70% of coaches and therapists are women. So only 30% are men now. And the vast majority of the men that are in this space are very niche towards business coaching and in the corporate world, which is a shame because more and more, I think more and more men are looking towards coaching and therapy. But when you're looking to do this sort of work, it's really important to feel like the person you're going to work with will understand the things that you're going through. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the same way in which we fight for representation on TV and in government and everywhere else, we also need to have that in this space, right? Mm-hmm. If there aren't any Black, mixed race, Asian men in this space, yet Black, mixed race and Asian men suffering from mental health issues, committing suicide, and have got all this stuff going on, and yet they don't feel like they're represented and that there's anybody that they can speak to who can relate to the stuff that they're going on, we have a problem. So the Modern Man Coach Academy is about generally just getting men, but because of who I am, we've got a couple of men of color on the program as well, which is really, really cool and kind of fills my heart very nicely. So that's what we're aiming to do with that.
Fantastic. So, Fidel, we know that you are a coach, and we have had you on this show before in terms of relationship, sex therapist kind of thing. We've done lots of different kinds of shows in last season. So I think you are the right person to be here today with all that's been said and done. There's lots and lots of things that have been said on social media about men. And women. Men, I've been hearing that men are taking the role as women. They're not as masculine anymore, that women are becoming more masculine. And so there's a misbalance.
For sure. That is what essentially what's happening at the moment. We are in very, very interesting times when we look at individually at the relationships between men and women, but also on a societal level, the big relationship between men and women, we're noticing a flip in polarity, right? Yeah, where absolutely. On an energetic level, women are stepping into their masculine energy more. And as a result of that, like there will always be a polarity dynamic. If there's only enough room for one to be in masculine, the other one will be in feminine. And if we're looking at that on a societal level, we're seeing massive shifts. And, at risk of being not very politically correct, right? We're going to end up in trouble. Unless we step forward and start having conversations around this stuff and start addressing it.
Okay, so we're going to start today. We're going to have some conversations about this today, because the way that I see it is we are the more mature generation. I'm not down with the older generation because I'm very young in myself, and I refuse to see any other way right about now. So we are the ones who are leaving the legacy, as it were. So for me, it's about how we are raising up the younger ones as well. So what do you think would bring about the change? I mean, I'm going straight for the jugular. I'm going straight in because I'm going to show some videos. I've got 2 videos to show. Oh, yeah. One is from an American young lady and one is from a British young man. And so before I show those, I want to say that the language in what is being said is not my language, right?
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer that some people may find it offensive. I'm just saying. So if you are of that persuasion, cock up your ears, because the video is going to be played anyway, because we want to get the gist of what's been saying. We've got lots of different people. We've got the likes of Kevin Samuels about, and I actually saw something of his today, which I actually thought, He actually didn't do a bad job because I don't subscribe.
We're going to talk about him separately, right?
Yeah, that's a separate. He's a whole
Right.
different thing.
We're going to have a conversation about him. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. But you know, I think, as I said before, this show is not about getting likes. That's not what this is about. This is about solution. How are we going to make a change? And the change where it is a real change, not a temporary change, but a permanent change. How are we going to do that? And how are we going to start creating the right types of relationships between women and men that are not hostile? Because I see a lot of hostility going on right about now. Would you agree with that statement that there is a lot of hostility going on?
For sure. I mean, the big picture of what I'm doing with the modern man stuff and the modern woman stuff. I also run a women's group, the Modern Women Group, and long term, my big vision is about bringing it back together again. And the phrase I use is separate but not divided. So we do need to do things separately as a group. Women need to do their stuff.
Yeah.
Over here as women, as groups of women, and men, we need to come over here and sort our stuff out, like between us, but not in a divisive way, because that's how it's going at the moment. A lot of women's groups and a lot of women's movements are turning, and it's kind of anti-man, whether they're doing it deliberately or whether it's just the energy behind it.
Right.
And likewise, a lot of the men's stuff, the men going their own way, the red pill movement and all of this sort of stuff is very, very anti-woman. And it's frightening, because where does that end? And we can't live without each other, you know, we can't. So like, why try?
Well, we can't, and we can't pre-procreate. I can't say the word. Pre-procreate.
We'd just be really miserable as well, like, you know.
You know, well, go on. You're like, you're over there and I'm over here. Well, go on. We need to come together and have a little fun.
Right.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes, not all the time. Do you know what I mean? So, okay. So we're gonna start off by playing a video. We ready? We're gonna play the male one first, I think, so we can get the profanities out of the way. So those of you who know you're going to get upset, because there's swear words in this. If you're going to get upset, just cock up your ears for 5 or a few minutes and let us hear what the gentleman has to say.
Fuck modern day women. This new generation of modern day women are psychopathic. They're masculine, they're narcissistic, they're entitled, and essentially, they're spoiled little brats. They want everything. And they expect to give nothing else in return but their vagina. Well, I've got news for you, my dear. Your vagina isn't special. You thought by making the song WAP, Wet Ass Pussy, that you were celebrating your femininity. You weren't. What you were essentially doing is telling us men what we already knew. You're a hoe. Don't be offended. That was the hook of the song. There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this house. And this new generation of women shook their BBLs in celebration. Now, Dave Chappelle once said that if pussy was a stock, it would have plummeted. Why? Because you flooded the market with your pussy. I can now download an app, and in half an hour, I can have sex with at least 50 women within a 2-mile radius if I want to. Your pussy is no longer special. And now we get to the modern day man. A desperate, shameless, embarrassing little simp who will do or say anything to get inside the vagina of this modern day woman. He will literally sell his assets just to be in her good books. This man will put himself in debt trying to please her every outlandish, entitled behavior. And she knows it. And she'll play on it. And she will manipulate it. And she will mold him into the effeminate little boy she desires, as long as her needs are being fulfilled. The roles are being reversed. Men are becoming women, and women are becoming men.
I think we get the gist of it.
Women are killing the very spirit of men every day. And men are becoming more and more desperate for this narcissistic psychopath's attention. Not me. And if this modern day woman feels aggrieved by a man, she will stand in his face.
Okay, so we we kind of, it goes on a little bit more, but I think we kind of get the gist of what he's saying. What what is your reaction to that?
So, all right. Well, I think for a start, unfortunately, he seems kind of hurt. But
Okay.
the basis of what he's saying, I think, is fairly accurate. It's the extreme end, but I think what he's saying is fairly accurate. Now, here's where I think we make a few mistakes. The first one being that this is done on a conscious level and deliberate. Now, for the vast majority of women that are behaving in that way, I don't think it is. Likewise, for a lot of men that are behaving in the way that he described, I don't think it is. It's a reaction. Both things are being a reactive, and I don't think it's kind of immature. So like we've got a generation of women who these are unprecedented times. Like our generation and the one below us, we've just never experienced it before. Previous generations, it was very, very clear what was expected of men and what was expected of women, like it or not, for good or for bad, for better or for worse, right?
Agreed.
We kind of knew, right? So we didn't have to make it. Right now, we're making up. We've got unprecedented levels of like the generation before us and us of divorce and separation.
Yeah.
Single parents,
Mm-hmm.
fathers, children growing up without their fathers not being able to see their children, and so forth. For the first time ever, women have got at scale. Women have got their own money and the capacity to fend for themselves, and therefore, essentially, feeling out what that freedom feels like. There's been no role models at a societal level to show women how to manage that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a whole new thing. Well, hang on a minute. Well, like now we can go out and we can actually do what we want, when we want, how we want, and look, we can even say what we want and do what we want for the first time
Ever. That's right.
For the first time ever. So it's new.
It is
like
new.
a shiny new toy. So you're going to get people singing songs like that and pushing it as far as they can to see where it goes, to see where the edge is. That's kind of it's a natural thing. And so I don't think it's being done particularly deliberately on by individuals. I just think it's inevitable, unfortunately.
I think, from my perception here is, I think social media and because the ways of worlds have changed, or we have to be honest, because when I was growing up, I didn't have the access that some young people have. There was no MTV. There was no, there was no social media. There was no Love Island. There was none of these types of programs that are now available or accessible for young people to be involved in, or even, dare I say, keeping up with the Kardashians, all of these things that create a facade or create a thing that young people may want to gravitate to. But I also think that, we as the more mature ones should be in a space where we are able to nurture those younger ones as well, because we do know a little bit different. We do know better. So, but however, you mentioned something about fathers not being able to see their children, which is another subject. It's a big subject, and I'm going to say I'm going to call you back for that one, because this is something that needs to be addressed
for sure.
For sure. And I've got big problem here. I've just written it down. When you said it, I've got big problem. You know what I mean? Because it's huge, and it needs to be addressed. But going back to the modern day woman, what I what I like about what this young man has said, I don't agree with everything that he said, but what I like about what he said is that he's brought a balance. He talked about the modern day woman and the modern day man. And so for me, although I don't agree with everything he has said, in terms of how he's put it, with the Cardi B, the song itself, and I know that young people sing it, but we know that throughout the ages, there are people who have made songs that we don't necessarily agree with, that have been big hits, and we know the words, we sing along. And one comes to mind. There's a Pharrell and Robin Thicke song. When you hear the connotation of what the song's about, it sounds pretty much like paedophilia to me. Is that something that I want to be singing? No, but actually, when you hear the groove and you hear the beat, you're like, you might sing along. I know you want it, because look, I even know the words. You get me? So what I'm saying is, I that whole thing is, again, it is about us as the older generation to say, right, okay, my daughter, you've got I hear you listening to this, but what does this mean to you? About this, he's talking about a woman's vagina, and giving it up. And so when we have our young people, or modern day men, or modern day women, what conversations are we having? What are we telling them?
Well, I've got 3 daughters, 21, 18, and 14. So I'm in the middle of it, with that conversation. I did a live on my Facebook with my daughter, my youngest one, talking about, which is really interesting and very on topic for what we're discussing now, actually, about her boyfriend that she had, right? It was her first and kind of only boyfriend. It was fairly short-lived. I thought he was a fairly nice guy, but she was in her masculine with it. She was just like, he kind of turned up and all that. It was like, she at one point she described it was like dealing with a child. That's what she said. And I was just like, wow, this is being played out exactly as it is. Like, they're already doing this polarity switch, and the way that she was talking about it, and the way that the conversation came up because he texted her at 11 o'clock at night and turned up outside her mum's house. And it's essentially not with flowers and a violin, but he might as well have done. Do you know what I mean? With a puppy dog eyes, trying to thing. I said, what would be the difference if he turned up outside my house? And she said he wouldn't have done that. And I'm like, right, that's right. But
yeah, you see, he knows. So why did anyway?
But that dynamic has already kind of shifted. Now, I've been very, very, I don't know whether it was lucky or presumably it's down to parenting. My daughter says it's all down to her, but we've been really, really lucky. Our 3 girls have been good. We haven't had any of that kind of drama. Really, she's got to 14, and that's the first boy that's ever been around the house. Do you know what I mean? To say hello. So they're good kids. So at one end, what he's talking about, we must be careful to realize that we are talking about extreme stuff here. I don't think that people behaving in that way make up the majority. They make up a noisy minority, and it's easy for us on social media to share the horror stories where we all rubberneck and look at the one friend in the gang that's done this madness or whatever, and those stories are really easy to share, and they go round and round and round. What isn't so interesting is the story about a happy couple that have been together since they were 17, 18, happily married, and life is good. We don't talk about that because it's boring, right? There's no entertainment, there's no social media likes for that one. So I think we need to be careful about where we are with it all. That's not to say that the same issues aren't happening to that happily married couple. So say happily married couple, and that same polarity switch isn't happening at that level with less of an impact. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does make sense. We've got some comments coming in. Lorraine Bailey's just said, this has been going on way before now. Remember Genuine Pony? Adults and kids were singing it.
Oh, yeah, the music.
I think it's true. Absolutely.
It's been going on forever. It's been before that. We're talking 1920s and 30s. Some of the blues songs and stuff like that that were written back in the day were filthy. Yeah.
But are we talking about women's genitalia? I mean, I remember Marvin Gaye, when I get that feeling, I want sexual healing, it was a bit of an uproar when that came out, but it was a great song and still gets played today. We've got some comments here. I've got my phone because there's some comments on my phone from the group. One young lady says, Erica Gordon says, "Oh dear, has he taken his meds?" I think she found that. I think it was the delivery.
He was, yeah. The delivery and the energy behind it was what I had the most issue with. Less so what he was saying was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But when I said he was clearly hurt, I think that's the problem. Is that when people get to the point of being ready to talk about this, it's usually because something bad has just happened to them.
Yeah.
And so they come with the angry vibes.
Yeah, Christine Douglas says, I totally agree with him. I'm so sick of watching our girls taking on a Barbie girl facade. Stop it. No one owes you nothing. Stop selling yourself short. Your pum pum is not for sale. Just for a designer handbag. Just saying. The comments go on. Saf Perkins says, sad to say, but the brother is so right. Yep, he's right. Julie Jones, and it's funny because there's women that are saying this as well. Oh,
for sure.
So many on so many levels, he's right. Tony Cox, one of our resident panelists.
Yes, Tony.
He said, did he lie? Tony Tullux is saying, Daryl Tullux is saying the ladies are lucky. He's just talking about the pum pum because if he threw in the child or children, that some of them come with, a lot of ladies would have to take a good look at their morals. That's what he said. And it goes on. However, we got here, there's a lady called Judy Bullymore. And actually, Judy is on panel tonight. And I'm going to read out her comment because she said, I agree that women have become more entitled. But I actually see this as a good thing because more have realized that they are allowed to do more and have permission to set their own expectations and standards. There is, however, a problem if the expectation and standards that are set by false stereotypes set by society and a flawed system. The idea that women manipulate men and offer themselves too freely is an age-old debate around the concept of feminism and sexuality, in that women can use the fact that they are women to their advantage. The truth is, men have been doing this since day one and still continue to do so. It's just that more women have clocked on and they can now tap into it or not. As for becoming demasculated, she says, this annoys me because it's not a woman's responsibility to make a man feel good about himself. Happiness and success lies in the hand of the beholder. Rather than the generalizations and stereotypes, there could be more dialogue about the true reasons why people are attracted to other people and what insecurities, pressures are at play that make men and women behave the way they do. It's never as straightforward as they're narcissistic and entitled.
Preach, Judy. Judy, wow, she went to town with the keyboard there, didn't she?
She's a keyboard warrior. She really
yes. I agree, and there was so much in there that I wanted to talk about anyway. I can't remember now. There was so much of it. She hit on so many different points. So one of the issue that we've got here is that we've got a generation and we're using words and we're having a discussion again on a societal level, trying to rectify stuff that happened in the past on a societal level, but the impact is happening to people that didn't benefit from it on an individual level. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
So listen, we can discuss sort of male privilege and everything else like that. I believe that there is such a thing. I believe it is, but it's waning. Do you know what I mean? It's not what it was. It's not what it was anymore. And so when we talk to individual men about that, right, we don't feel it. We're not benefiting from it. But society, women are still like, yeah, but men have been benefiting from this for 100 years. And you're like, yeah, but I wasn't alive then, so I didn't benefit from it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes
So like on an individual, it's just like, they don't take it out on me. And so we've got these two dialogues going on, where we've got a conversation going on here about societal stuff that's impacting people on an individual level, right? So it's understanding the difference between those two things. Also, that stuff about women and their kind of sexual liberation and their sexual freedom, and this is what I mean about kind of expressing it and finding you can't have both. I think the concept of the kind of gold diggers and all that, I don't think the song that he was talking about I don't think is in relation to that at all. I mean, Cardi B is a multi-millionaire. She ain't selling anything to you.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she don't want nothing from you. And that's what she's saying in her song. And this puts a lot of men's nose out of joint. The "we don't need no man" line, right?
Right.
I didn't talk about this. We don't need no man. Like, this is making men feel very, very, very uncomfortable. It's making us feel very unwanted, unneeded. And so I did a post the other day on my social media with a line from Fight Club, the movie, where we're talking about masculinity is now a choice, not a necessity. Throughout history, we needed men to be men. We needed to go to war. We needed to go down the mines. We needed to sail ships. We needed to build big buildings and everything else. That essentially nowadays, none of those things are requirements anymore. Right? We do not need. Right? You don't even need us to go out and earn money anymore.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
In some way, so having that rubbed in our faces, right, is very, very uncomfortable. So where do we go now? What are we useful for? What do we need us for?
Well, I think you're useful for what you've always been useful for. I think,
right, and that's what that song is all about. That's it. Now we're reduced to being that one thing, a function. And as Judy said, we guys don't like it. It's like now women are going, well, actually, all we need you for is a bit of this, that, and the other, at night time. Thanks very much.
Well, when I say you are needed for what you've always been needed for me, it's that whole thing. It's the whole thing of the man being the man. But I have heard, and I have said it, I'm going to be open and honest on here. I have said it. I don't need a man. I want, the want is different from the need. And I think there are many women who say, I don't need a man because of how society has been, and some women, not all women, and let me just put that disclaimer out, it's not all women. Some women have got to a space where they've had to do it. Dad's gone, for whatever reason, the relationship's broken down. The woman is there, mum's there, and she's raising the children. She's got the house. She's bought the house. She's bought the car. The car's broken down. She's underneath the bonnet. She's learning how to put a tire on and all of these things. She's out in the garden. She's doing all these things. She's laying a patio. Let me just say this. At the beginning of lockdown, one of my friends with her son, I think she asked the father or asked for help. No help came. She went to the DIY shop, went and got what she needed to go. She asked a question.
Was he under the patio?
I don't know.
We need to dig up that patio and have a look. Find some bodies.
I haven't seen him since. But, so there would be a statement. I don't need a man. I want one.
So I want to address this, and specifically when we talk about want and need, because Michelle has pointed out there why men get upset about want and need thing. So here we are with so I work with men and women on an energetic level. We talk about masculine and feminine energy, right? Masculine energy is very practical. It's about doing, right? It's going out there, right? The feminine is about receiving and being, right? So masculine energy is very practical. Okay, it requires necessity is what it's all about. If something isn't needed, then it's superfluous, right? So being needed is very important to masculine energy, right? Being required,
right?
Femininity wants to be desired. It wants to be wanted, and this is why there's a disconnect between the two. So women are like, why do men? Why women think, hey, listen, I don't need you, I want you, and you expect us to have the same reaction as you. When we say that to you, I don't need you in my life, darling. I want you. I desire you. A woman wants nothing more than to hear those words. But a man would much rather be needed, required. That masculine energy. I want you to need me. I need you in my life, baby. That's a much better thing for a masculine energy to hear, because that means we're useful. We have purpose. We can do things now. Do things for you.
But is that more egotistical though? I'm just throwing that out.
It depends what you mean by ego, right? I don't think ego is a bad thing at all.
No, I don't. I think it has its place. The ego and the she-go, they both have its place, right? But sometimes the ego has to go and the she-go has to go. So my thing is the need for to be needed, that need that the male needs the woman to need him. Is that part of his ego? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think so, no. Because like I said, it's about practicality. Do you know what I mean? It's about being functional, right? It isn't about, so desired is actually more of an ego thing, right? To be desired, to be put on a pedestal, that's much more, it sounds much more egotistical to me. But maybe that's because of our difference of our feminine and masculine energy, right?
Right, yeah.
For me, who wants such frivolous? Who wants to be so frivolous as to just be desired? Like, do you know what I mean? No, I want to be needed. I want to be useful. I want to be practical. That's functional.
Right. And I think Michelle Grenada is saying thank you for the clarity there, because what you've said is quite big. You dropped a bomb there. You dropped a bit of a bomb there. Men need to be required. Women need to be desired, and that's the difference.
Thank you for making it rhyme for me. Appreciate
there
that.
You go. That's what I do. You see, I'm a speaker coach. You know, this is what I do. This is what I do. So those of you who want to learn how to speak well, come and hook me up. Let me get my plug in. I've got the speakeasy course going on. So there you go. So this is brilliant. Lolly Bailey saying, I want you to need me. I get it now. This must be one of the reasons why I'm single.
So let's talk about that, because I had a really interesting conversation with my one of my assistants recently, and she said to me, she's on dating sites and everything else like that, and she couldn't understand why she keeps getting these waste men. And one of the things was she said I don't understand. Like, I have my own house, I have a great business, I've got my own car, I don't need no man. Essentially, is what she was saying.
Yeah.
And I said, stop. I said, please tell me you don't put any of that in your profile. She said, no. And I said, look, it doesn't even matter whether you put it on there or not. If that's the energy with which you're entering into the dating, I said, I guarantee you that the last 3 guys that were in your life didn't have any of those things. And she said, how did you know that?
Right.
I said, because listen, if you're saying you're being a magnet for it, if that's what you're putting out there, here, I'm a great catch because I have a house, I have a car, I have a great job. Guess what you're going to attract? The people that don't.
Yep, I hear you.
If that's what you think is important. So I'm not saying that women don't have a great car, have a great job, have a great business. But if you put that out there as being like what's important to you, if you feel it, that is very masculine. That is like, I'm a provider. Here are these things I can provide for you. That is very masculine energy. So that's what you're putting out. And so what you will get is very feminine women, feminine men.
Feminine men, right. Yeah.
Feminine men who aren't able to provide, who don't have purpose, who don't have career, who don't have ambition. You're going to get those guys who are in their feminine that want to be looked after, right? Like back in the 50s, like women did.
Right.
This is where we're seeing it happen at a very subtle level. This woman is not Cardi B. She's a normal girl next door who's doing what society has told her to do. And she's still single in her mid-30s.
Okay, so we're hearing it. Ladies, I know that there are a lot of single ladies who are listening to this today. I should have said at the beginning of the show, you need a little notebook and pen to take some notes, because hear what Fidel is saying. If you're in that energy, that's what you're attracting. We know about the law of attraction, like, you know, you attract what you say, especially more so than not. You attract what you say you don't want more than what you attract. What you
for
do
sure.
want.
There's that too. There's that part too. Yeah, that's almost a different thing. I think what we're talking about here is polaric energy, that masculine, feminine. If you're in your masculine, you will attract the feminine. If you're in the feminine, you'll attract the masculine. And the same goes for guys. Guys are all out here being in their feminine, like almost like that guy. The way what he was saying was true, and he kind of might have thought he was being masculine by going, no, not me. But actually what he was doing was whinging.
Yeah, being feminine.
What he was doing was being feminine. He was sitting there moaning and whinging about the behavior of women and everything else like that, right? Instead of going, well, here's a solution, here's a problem, here's a solution, this is what I'm going to do about it. That's more masculine energy, right? So the more in your feminine you're going to be, guess what? You're going to attract those masculine women to you, right? You're going to attract women that are just going to come and, you know what? Use you for whatever, or treat you badly, or be confused, or be demanding. Do you know what I mean? And because here's the other problem: when men and women step into those opposite energies without doing it consciously. So when a man is in his feminine energy, he doesn't do it well. They don't represent any of that good feminine stuff. No. They don't. They represent the shadow side of it. Likewise, when women are in their masculine energy, they don't do it well. Right? It's bossy, right? It's domineering, it's overpowering, it's rude. You know, when women do it, it's aggressive. Exactly right. So women don't do masculine very well, and men don't do feminine very well either, unless they do it consciously. So there is a way, once you become conscious and you're able to understand about your own masculine and feminine energy, what it feels like inside, there's perfect function in men and women stepping in and out of those energies. I'm perfectly capable of being in my feminine energy, and there's a time and a place for it. Likewise, I'm sure you're quite perfectly capable of being in your masculine, and there's a time and a place for it. When you do it consciously, you can step into that positive version of it. When you're doing it unconsciously, it's not positive at all. We do not do it well. No,
that's very, very true. I'm loving this conversation, Fidel. And I have to drop this, that Fidel is one of the speakers at the After Dark retreat, our relationship retreat in September. So if you want to meet Fidel in person and you want to hear more of what he has to say, then you will need to be at the retreat. And it's in a beautiful hotel. It's at Whittlebury Hall in Northamptonshire. It's a 4-star hotel. It's lovely. It's got, you know, it's a spa hotel and golfing hotel. So it's just, everything is just amazing. The food's great as well. So I've sampled it. I know what it's about. So do remember, that's on the 24th to the 26th of September. And Fidel is one of our speakers. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Michelle Grenade is saying she's getting some gems tonight, light bulb moments. Fantastic. And this is what this is about. This is what this platform is about. We ain't got time for talking about pum pum and in a negative way. We want to be enlightening and help people in their relationships.
Donna's saying something interesting there, and look, it's all interesting. And Lolly, you best cover the suit of armor. I'll be out on the golf course with the boys.
Look, Fidel, listen, the woman there is going to be running off. You've seen me running off. Help! They're going to be running you down. Oh Lord! But it's all good. It's all good.
So there's fear. Donna's making some sense there. That women aren't comfortable showing their vulnerability and fear of being taken advantage of, right? Likewise for men. So we have a big problem here. There's fear on both sides, okay? And for me, this is why I do the work I do. All right. This is why I wear this hashtag the Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Because if we look at the essence of masculine and feminine, the role of the masculine is to lead. Okay. Now, when I say that, immediately that's a bit of a trigger word for lots of women. Like what? Now, if we think we already misunderstand the concept of leadership, I think, because we're used to leaders taking advantage, right, and being dominate and looking at it from a domination perspective and taking advantage. There's actually real leadership, true leaders, good leaders, great leaders. What they do is it's about taking responsibility. It's actually about service, right? It's actually about putting yourself at the front and taking responsibility for everyone that comes behind. Okay, so leadership is actually a sacrifice. It's actually about service. Okay,
yeah.
So when that masculine leadership role is done correctly and positively, that's what it's about. Now, here's where the real power dynamics. When we talk about power isn't in the leadership. Power is in the following, right? You can't lead unless there's somebody to following you.
Follow, yeah.
So the power is in the permission. So if we take that the concept of a dance, right? A tango, something like that, right?
Yes, let's do that.
The male leads, the masculine leads, but the feminine has to allow him to do. The feminine can mess up that whole dance, right? If she doesn't want to tag along, if she's going to be all uptight and resistant to his leadership, it's going to be a rubbish. It's going to be a rubbish dance. They ain't going anywhere. There's going to be no beauty to it, right?
Yeah.
It only works if she allows him to lead her with grace, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the bottom line. She's only going to do that if she trusts him not to tread on her toes and drop her on the floor.
That's right.
Okay. So for me, it is down to lead our way out of where we are at the moment. It has to be men that do that. So we are the ones that have to step forward as kings, fix ourselves, prove our trustworthiness in that positive masculine energy, and create that safe container for women to go, actually, we trust them now on a societal level and on an individual level. When we do that, we'll see women stepping back into their feminine, but in a different way, because obviously we don't want to go back to the 50s. That's not what we're about. Like, we can't do that. Nobody wants that. And women are perfectly capable of leading, but they don't have to mimic men in order to do so.
That's right.
They can do it out of their feminine energy. There's plenty of power in that. And I
think
there's
a lot of power in that.
There's it is power. So I think women need to connect more and understand more about what femininity is, how powerful it can be, and what how capable they can be in a modern world whilst remaining in their feminine. They do not have to mimic men to be powerful. And I think that's something we got from the previous generation. It's essentially what a lot of feminism was all about. Right, we have to go out, we have to overtake, we have to go into the workspace, and we have to challenge men, and we have to be like them and take over, and we are the same, right? Which is probably what had to happen at that point. But we've now gone beyond that, and we need to look at, okay, how do we rectify the situation now? We have to look that it's okay for us to be different, equal but different. Women mimicking men isn't the answer.
No, I think you've touched on the answer, and that you said about building trust, because a woman will not follow a man that she doesn't trust.
Correct. And we have a whole big wounded problem. I mean, I ran a women's group recently, and the WhatsApp group is still alive. They're still in there. And one of them just shared a story of her sister being with a guy for 6 years. And she's just found out that he was also married and had 2 children. So like, and she, the sister and the one that was on my program, already had massive trust issues anyway. And when we hear stories like that, and that's now being shared in a group of other women, and they were like, oh my God, like, this is where the trust gets damaged, right? It gets spread. So these other women don't even have to have experienced that. But now they're like, oh my God, there are guys out there. This is a true story, Things like this happen.
They do.
So the guy doesn't realize the damage he's doing.
No, he doesn't. I can relate. I can, let's just call a spade a spade. I have a few of those in my family, actually. Well, they've lived their lives, and you can't run away from these things. If you know it's there, then you have to call it out. And that, for me, that may be me being in my masculine, or being perceived to be in the masculine. But if I see it, I call it out and say, you can't really be living that way. If you've got her over there and then you've got her over there, and neither one know about each other, that's
the problem. Neither of them knowing about each other. Like, do what you want as long as you're open. And this is what I say to some of my guys. It's just like I had a client today, and he's still locked in this thing where he thinks he's by dating a woman or not wanting to like get married again or have a real long-term relationship, that he's somehow stealing something or taking something from a woman. So his energy is all shifty around it. And I'm like, dude, she just probably doesn't want that either. Yeah, just be open and just be honest about it, and you'll find you'll have a great relationship. Now, when you're coming with that shifty energy, like you're ready to pinch your handbag or whatever, like that concept is outdated now. With sexual liberation and stuff like that, women are like quite open to all kinds of different relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of women don't want to go. If they've got a house, they've got a business, they've got a car, they don't want you coming around and dropping your pants on the floor. Do you know what I mean? What they're after is someone to come around, look after them, make them feel safe when he's around, go for dinner, adult conversation, and a couple of good nights while the kids are away, right?
What are we going to do? We're going to read a few more comments, and I'm going to bring in another video.
I'm preaching now, aren't
Shell Williams says women are left to raise boys into men, and she can only raise a boy to be the type of man she would have wanted. And there are some bitter women raising some boy men, and some mothers telling their daughters that men are not shit. I believe this is a deep issue. Only few men have one baby mother. What would you say to that, Fidel?
She has a very good point, and it's a really sensitive subject, isn't it? The one of single mothers. So and their ability. So even women who kind of think they're doing the right thing. Here's one of the problems that I see. So a lot of women think the type of guy that they think they want isn't the type of guy that they really want. So a lot of women are like, oh, we want guys to open up and be all vulnerable and tell us their things and this, that, and the other. After 6 months of that, you ain't going to want to sleep with him anymore. It's very unattractive. It is because what you're after is like your best friend. Like you want to turn your man into your girlfriend, right? But that's what your girlfriends are for. Like, let your guy be over here and like do his silent thing. It's fine. He'll go and sort himself out with his men friends. So what we've got is single mums going, oh, if only my ex-husband or your dad had opened up and spoken to me. So they're raising effeminate men, thinking that that's the right thing to do, but it's not.
Yeah,
I think that happens a lot.
Yeah, because
it's all done with the best intention. That's the problem.
Well, this is it. The intention, the best intention is there, and sometimes it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You've got this boy, you've got to raise him. Dad's not there. It's hard, but my thing is find a male person within the family that you trust that can mentor your male son. Well, he's going to be male because he's your son, isn't he? So find somebody within the family that can help you to raise this young man, so that he has a well balanced upbringing. It's not just he's growing up effeminate, and rightly or wrongly, some women, not all, are trying their best. They've got the best intention, but the outcome is the outcome. We've got Donna who's saying, I refuse to dumb myself down to allow the man to feel better about himself. Trust the process. If I'm with you, I'm reading far and I haven't got my glasses. I'm with you and want my king to excel. Right. So what she's basically saying is she's not prepared to dumb herself down, which I think a lot of women would agree with that statement of dumbing themselves down.
So it's not about dumbing yourself down. It's about how you use your intelligence. All right. Now, are you using your intelligence, your wit and your language and your words to emasculate your man? Or are you using them to empower him, make him feel and help him and inspire him is the words I like to use. That's what the feminine does. The femininity inspires the masculine, right? It does lift us up. But only when you're being feminine. Now, I see way too often in public, and I know behind closed doors, it's the biggest problem I hear with men, is just the women are just cutting their men down. And it's a vicious circle, because the more you do that, the worse he's going to behave. The more the stuff that you don't like him doing, he's going to do.
Yeah.
You can choose to say, well, that's his problem. He shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. Or you can choose to actually look at the only thing you can control, which is your own behavior. And I say that to men and women.
Yeah. You have to change yourself. You can't, if you want to bring about change, it's not outside of you. It's in you. That's where the change starts. You change, he will change, because he will see the difference. Okay, so we have. I think there's one. I'm going to take one more comment. There was one from Kelly on. Can we put that up for women? Yvonne said that a woman will not follow a man that she can't trust. I think the bottom line also is that if he cannot lead her the way that she would like to be led, she's not hanging around either. So who is really leading and what really is leadership, then I think this ought to be discussed as well. I stand by what I said. A woman will not, I'm going to stand by it. A woman will not follow a man she doesn't trust. So I don't think it's so much about being the way that she wants to be led. I think it's, if she doesn't like the way that you're leading her, it's because she don't trust you.
Correct. Or she also hasn't expressed her desires clearly enough, you know. So women, that's kind of their role or whatever in that relationship dynamic, is to express themselves, is to express their desires. So that is very different than telling your man what you want. Let me make that clear, right? Telling your man what you want is very different to saying this is what I would really like. That inspires the provider instinct within us. This is what I talk about. I think I've spoken about it before, about opening the jar, right? And I was round at my sister-in-law's and my little brother's house recently, and she just wasn't having it. She was there, like trying to open the jar, and I was like, "Would you like me to open that?" And she was like, "No."
Okay.
So I'm capable of opening the jar, and she was there banging it on the top, like rather than allowing me to do it. And I was like, "Okay, cool." But here's the thing: I said you should call your husband, man. Call my little brother. Let him open the jar. So there's nothing actually. We literally put on a cape for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know, ask us to open a jar. We're like, pow, yes. Yeah. One of our favorite things to do. You are perfectly capable of opening a jar, but when you ask us to do it for you, it's amazing.
Absolutely. You know, my thing is, I think I've said this on one of the shows in the last season. I have no problem playing the damsel in distress. I will do that openly. I don't business. Oh, can you do this for me? Oh, that's me. And if that's me, that's the only time I'm feminine. That's the only time I'm feminine. I don't know. It's probably not. But I do. For me, I love a man who is helpful. That's very attractive to me. So if I'm asking for your help and you're not helping me, I'm off. Bye. Not interested. But if a man is helpful and wants to help me, and you know, and I'm helping him and he's helping me, that's very, very attractive to me.
Very.
In a man. Yeah, because I don't want no lazy man.
Your acts of service is your love language, then, is it?
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is. Oh yeah. So we're gonna go over to watch the next video of this young lady. This video has gone viral. It has been on lots and lots of shows, but I do want to bring it on and just kind of, I know you got daughters as well, so this will be very interesting. And our panel is going to start to come in as well. We've got Judy coming in as well. So they're going to be talking to you live as well, Fidel, and putting some questions to you. It's all good. You know,
bring back.
Yeah, man, it's all good. And so we are going to go to that. Are we ready for that video? Let's go to the video.
Had a guy get me a Benz before and put me in a loft space and, you know, set my whole life up differently than what it was normally. And I feel like if you brought me to like this level, and then we didn't work out, but we're still friends, you know, we didn't have beef and no one cheated. It was just didn't work out. But I still, I wasn't going to move from my space because it didn't work out. I wasn't going to give him back my car because I'm not going to downgrade my lifestyle because me and you are no longer together. And I just feel like if you put me in this space and that was under your budget, then what's the difference now? You know what I mean?
You were my girlfriend. I was fucking you.
Yeah, but I was fucking you. But I personally feel like, no, I'm not moving.
But see, what he did was this, though. He gave you the upgrade. But part of that upgrade is because you're with me.
Yes.
You understand? So let me just go, though. So we didn't work out, me and you dating. You feel me? So I'm supposed to keep paying your loft and keep paying your Benz. Now, I get it. You're a true boss if you do that. And that's the vibe we're getting, but Jazz.
No, it's just I'm not moving, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
If you want to stay upgraded, stay with me. If not, go see what's out there.
Oh, so then if that's the case, you want me to stay with you for these items and use you basically?
Not for them. If you want to live like this, it comes with being with me.
Okay, so then you would prefer a woman to just stay with you for her items and her lifestyle. My lifestyle is now contingent. My current new lifestyle that you upgraded me to is now contingent on me being in a relationship with you, and that's the only way I can have it in this moment. Then what stops me from just staying with you for that?
Then Jazz, You want him to keep your lifestyle up, keep paying your bills, keep you on that same upgraded level. No, you were dating a man that had money, so dating him came with a lifestyle. But if we're not working and our love is dead, I don't owe you to keep paying your car note and your mortgage. I'm not entitled to. Now, if I'm that rich, then okay. But realistically, that isn't really my job. You should find you a man like me and upgrade to him and keep your lifestyle.
But that takes time. So I just feel like if someone had me on a certain pedestal, you're not just because we no longer working, you're not just gonna rip the pedestal from me. Like, or I'm gonna feel a type of way and just as petty and ruin them things. I'm gonna ruin the car. I'm gonna trash the house.
Sponsor you until you move on.
Not until I move on, but give me,
until I more time.
Okay, so there is the.
What can you say? There's nothing you can say about that, is there? That's just stupid.
I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, this. Anyway, I'm going to bring in the panel. I'm going to bring the panel in as well. I think it's hilarious. But my thing is, yes, it's entitlement. But you know what? My question is, what would you say if that was your daughter? And I'm going to throw that out. I did put this on our social media, and I did ask specific questions. What would you say to this girl if this was your child? Right?
Drag her out of the house and put her to work in Tesco's, like, go stack some shelves, man.
That's right. But no, you're not nice. Go pack some shelves. she needs help. I think the entitlement thoughts that she's having is of somebody who is a spouse. Because if you're married and you've had a relationship and you get, in America especially, you get alimony and you get all of those kind of things.
Yeah, and I saw how her little logic was trying to get there with, do you want me to stay with you just for those things? Like don't rip the pedestal away from. If you put me on a pedestal, don't rip it away just because we're not together. It's disjointed logic, but I can kind of see what she was trying to do, but she is wrong.
Yeah, you're gonna rip the pedestal. No, go and get a job.
Yeah,
basically sort yourself out, love. Do you know what I mean? It's not working. So what? This man is just gonna keep you on this side, and he meets someone else. He's gonna keep you. He's got a new girlfriend, but he's keeping you just because you can't be bothered to sort your life out. You can't get some ambition and get yourself a job.
But weirdly enough, I know really, really clearly one guy that was doing that. He was with a new girl, and he was with her for a few years before she found out that he was still paying his ex-girlfriend's mortgage. Because he was a nice guy. Yeah, he was still paying the mortgage. Nice. So they weren't married. It was a girlfriend.
Oh, is it?
But like they got this house together or whatever, and she didn't want to move. It's pretty much what that woman was saying. And this guy was paying her mortgage for years after.
Donna says if that was her son, she'd knock him both sides of his head, even if he thought of putting himself in that situation. Don't let me start. I had to tell her 2 words. For real. At the end of the day, what mother wants her son to be with a girl like that? And likewise, what mother would allow her daughter to be like that? And this girl is serious because she's done many, many different shows. She's serious. She thinks that, the guy is supposed to keep her until she's able to maintain it herself.
The other thought crosses my mind that's a little bit skeptical about this is she doing it for likes? Do you know what I mean? Like, is she really that stupid, or is she doing it to go viral? Like, you never know these days, because it was such a dumb thing to say. It really is.
It is, and it has gone viral, and everyone's talking about it. But we had some comments on on there. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read out the comments. I am going to move on with the show, and I'm going to bring in the panel. So we have Jaden. Jaden was on our show before. Hi, Jaden. How you doing?
Oh,
hi, Jaden.
Yeah.
And we have Jaden. Just tell us about yourself quickly.
I mean, I'm 19. Just about to go to uni and have a good time at uni, some uni life. I'm very excited for that. So I feel like this conversation is going to be really relevant to what I'm about to go through. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's all excitement. Jaden's going to university. And shall we bring in Judy Bullimore? Hello, Judy.
Well, yes, Judy.
Hiya.
You don't have to type it all out now. You can come and...
Oh, fantastic.
That was on text, actually.
Oh, with your thumbs.
It was a kind of impromptu thumb moment when I saw that. It was like, right, I've got a response. That was me.
Yes, absolutely. When I saw that response, I messaged Judy and I said, would you like to come on the panel and express your views? And she quite rightly has said yes, and you're here this evening. I'm so happy you're here. And we've got Theo. Theo's here as well. Yeah. Theo Madison, hello. How are we as well? We good, Theo?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, Theo.
Right, so Theo, I'm going to go back to Judy. Judy, just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
I am an interview coach and a dream job mentor. I help people get their dream careers. That's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic.
Also, in relation to this show, I am actually a single mother as well. I think that's kind of pertinent to probably why I think the way that I do, because I do it all on my own practically. So it's probably why.
Thank
you behind
as well. Thank you for letting us know that, Judy. Yes, Judy is a coach as well, and we're getting some feedback here. And Theo, just tell us who you are, what you do as well, so our viewers can get acquainted with you.
Coach and a dream job mentor. I help people get their dream careers. That's me in a nutshell.
Okay, we're getting some feedback here.
Theo's got some technical stuff going on.
Is that you? Is that you, Theo? Did that come from you, Theo?
Pertinent to.
Yeah. Oh, he's got some issues. All right, he's going to come out and come back. He's going to go out and come back in. He knows the drill. All right, so let's crack on with the show. So, we saw the young lady. I think, Judy, you should contact her and give her some inspiration as to how to get a job.
How to get yes.
Yeah? I think
yes.
You should
There's a niche market for you, Judy. There's a niche market for you there, Judy.
Media,
girls.
marketing, social media. She's got a bright career. If she funnels it in the right direction.
She does. Take my advice. Check her out. Give her some advice. You never know. You never ever know. So we have been talking about lots of different things, but all together we're talking about the modern day woman, the modern day man, the different energies. And Judy, you did you went to town. You was like with your response. And we've been talking, and I know you guys have been in the green room and listening, but I just wanted to, before I come to you, Judy, I'm just going to go over to Jaden, because he is the youngster of the panel. And I just want Jaden to kind of just give us some of your thoughts. I know you've been watching. Did you see the first clip with the guy who was talking about modern day women? Did you see that, Jaden?
I didn't see that, but I saw the one with the girl talking about the guy. And
yeah.
Now, me, just through personal experience, I'm quite young, I'm 19. I can't say I've had like a long-lasting relationship or like a long, stable job. I'm not 100% in the adult world yet. I'm just about to go into uni, but throughout my life, I've seen the build-up and breakdowns of many relationships, and I feel like I could contribute to that. Now, I feel like her mindset is a bit crazy, and I just feel like, I feel like in a relationship, for me, now I might be a bit naive, and this might sound naive to people, but I just felt like it was about being with the other person and building each other up, and enjoying each other's company. And you know what I mean? Like, why we're all going out there to fight the world and do the best we can, but we don't want to come back to our home where we're going to fight with the person who's closest to us, if you know what I mean. Like, that person is supposed to be the person who brings it all together. So to hear that, it's just like, the guy's went and done all of his work. He's fought the world and he's in a position to do these things. But unfortunately, for some reason, we fell out and, we can't be together anymore. You're now a leech. You can't do that. That's almost like she's looking for a dad. Like, it's a bit much. There's no reason, there's no child involved, there's no love there. It's just a bit leechy, if you ask me, and I feel it's very insulting as well of his effort and of his intelligence as well, because it's just doesn't, it makes no sense to me personally. But yeah, that's my standpoint on that.
Thank you, Jaden. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think she needs a hug from her dad.
Yeah.
That's what she needs. You need a hug, love, from your dad. You've got issues. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. So going back to what we were discussing before, and in terms of the gem that Fidel dropped, that men desire to be required. Men are required and women are desired. And this is the issue that we see going on in relationships today, is that maybe women now are the ones who want to be required and the men want to be desired. They've switched it. And so we're now getting a disparity in relationships. And I also made the statement that women will not follow a man that they do not trust. I know Kels may have some other thoughts on that. Kels is also one of our panel members. But I think that we can certainly carry on this conversation, because we do have a retreat coming up in September, the 24th to 26th. And we want to be able to help people to build their relationships. Judy's come in, and I'm coming to you now, Judy, from her perspective of the woman having, doing for herself, being empowered, and not pandering. Maybe that's not the use of the right word, but pandering to men and us, rubbing them down and making them feel so good and blah blah blah. You were saying in your text that it's not our responsibility, and I just really want to give you the opportunity to say your bit, and then for Fidel to come in, and then we're going to bring in Theo, and then we're going to bring Jaden back in. So over to you, Judy.
I mean, the guy said so much stuff, and the only thing that I was thinking to myself is, like, what are you getting at? What's your real problem here? Is it a problem that women have just clocked on that? Okay, let me go back. What came for me is that there seems to be two things here. There's a relationship, so people who embark on going out with another person for a relationship, and then there is this kind of shallow, no relationship required. It's like, what can you do for me, and vice versa. And I feel as though the generation that you start the show by saying, we're in an unprecedented time in terms of the generation that we're in. We're in uncharted territory where, women have got all of this, more freedom, and they've started to think, oh, we can do anything, and it's playing out. And for me, it's like, if there's this shallowness to two people coming together. So women then going, well, you're a commodity. You can give me something that I want, whether that be money or, in her case, who's just been on a condo or whatever. But then I think to myself, it's two-way, because if I thought that there were loads of men out there who were looking for a partner or a relationship based on what is inside, personality, what's in her heart, and I might have a bit, not such a skeptical opinion of all of this, but a lot of it is to do with what women look like, their attraction, what women can do for men. And I think for that, it's been like that for a really long time, where men choose partners or have relationships based on what women can do for them. And now they don't like it if men do exactly the same thing. But to me, that the differentiation between really shallow relationships that have no heart, aren't going to really go anywhere, and they're really dysfunctional. I'm not saying that that's a great relationship to be in. And then there's the other types of relationship where, you know, you look past all of the superficial stuff and you have a real connection. But I feel like the modern day woman that the guy was talking about is just this shallow idea just being played out. So for me, the idea that women are there to kind of serve men, I think is getting old now. I think a lot of women are thinking, well, what can you do for me? And that's what came from, you know, expectations and this idea of entitlement. Well, it's two-way. I don't believe that they're all being manipulated out of their masculinity. I just think that you've chosen this woman based on your own superficial reasons, and the women are basically just, I'm not even going to say that they're using their brain, because I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, but they're using their resources. If they think that they're not going to get $100,000 job and they want to live $100,000 life, and they've got somebody who they think that they can do that, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but they're just using their resources. So I don't like the way that society is going. I'm not saying that this is what all women should do. I'm just saying that this is it. It doesn't help. It's two-way. Go for women for their personality then, if that's the case. But they just happen to be, you know, desirable. So for me, there's a whole load of stuff that I have an issue with. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Okay. Well, you've stated your point. You've stated your point, and you know, one of the things that you said, you had me knocking the chair like this. Yes, you're chatting, you're talking, because you said that men are, you know, they have a choice. Men and women, and this is the thing that I struggle with when I hear these types of things on social media, is that a lot of it does come out of bitterness. As Fidel said, he sounds like he's been hurt. But because of that, what is not remembered is actually that woman that you're talking about in your mind, because you have somebody that you're talking about, that woman, you chose her. So that's on you. You know, we've all got to take responsibility for our choices and learn from it. Fidel's coming in. I can see Fidel.
Well, I wrote a little ditty the other day. It said, "Good men aren't hard to find, but to keep one, it takes more than a great behind."
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I like that one.
like, if all you're banking on is your great ass, like, you ain't gonna find a great man. Like, you know, if that's what you're using to get yourself into a relationship, you're gonna attract the kind of guy that's all he wants. And at the time, he might be willing to exchange that great behind for keeping you in a penthouse and letting you drive a Benz. But as soon as that ass starts drooping, or he finds another one that's better, again, expect you, like you said, that exchange between men and their money and women and their body has been happening since the dawn of time, right? That exchange has been happening forever, and it's still happening now, but it's just getting a little more fused now, and people get to talk about it on social media like they didn't get to do before.
Okay, fantastic.
And
Judy, how do you
when
feel?
Yeah, it was just that, Jaden, when you was talking about your feelings towards what the girl was saying, it was almost like that poor man. Like, you know, he worked ever so hard to get to where he is, and he's putting up this woman, and it's like, you're putting up a woman. Like, why are you doing that? Is it because you just got so much money that you can just put up women? And you know, what is the exchange? Why are you doing that? There is already a massive imbalance. So what is she doing for him? You know, is it a poor man, or is it like he's just going to go on to the
I
next?
feel like
how he likes
it's more. I feel like it's more, again, like, just I was just commenting on the opinion that she gave, but if I was commenting on the man, then it would be something along the lines of fool, because you've right now. Sorry to be blunt with it, but I'm just putting my tiptoes in the adult world, and I'm now coming to understand the importance of such things as finance now, right? The exchange, yeah, I understand that there's men out there that will exchange their finances, and they'll exchange how they live, and they'll give their lifestyle to another person in exchange for their looks, bodies, attractive, whatever, shallow things. But I just think that if we're talking about the man, I say two words that come to mind is either shallow or desperate. Yeah, maybe he hasn't really been around. There's something missing I feel like there's something missing if you use your finances to keep a woman in your life. That's just my personal belief. And for the woman, I just feel like she's a bit of a lazy bone, and she needs to kind of get a grip, because and to be honest with you, even in me saying that, there's an element of, well, that's fine, because they're both getting what they want at the end of the day. Me as an outsider, that's certainly not what I believe in, but if that's what they believe in, then I can respect that and go away. But for me, that's something that I wouldn't want my future daughters, sons, grandchildren. I wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't allow that. I just think that behavior, even if one of my friends was doing that, I'd be like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's on, to be honest with you. And either way, I think the way relationships are starting to go is it's just going toxic, and I hate to see it. But yeah.
So, I mean, Jaden is of another era in terms of the age, and he is very much, if you haven't noticed, Jaden is, like I said, he's just putting his toe into adulthood. He's going to university in September. But one of the things, and one of the reasons why I invited Jaden back was because of the level of conversation that we had on our last season show. And he was mentioning the younger girls of his generation and city girls and all of those kinds of things. And I think to a degree, maybe this is what the video was about, because he was talking about modern day girls. But then there are some men that I've seen comments that they're saying this isn't just modern day girls, this is women in general. And so, you know, and I can see like Theo's nodding his head. So yeah, Theo, do you want to come in and say a little bit about that?
Good evening, everybody. It's interesting. How you doing, Fidel? You good?
Yes, Theo, I'm good, man.
I like it, the Kingmaker. How you doing, man? Long time. Hello, Judy. Hello, Jaden. I saw that video from what's the guy's name? Zara? Is his name Zara?
Yeah, Zara Garvey, yeah.
Yeah, he's a very opinionated young man. What he said, okay, he might not have said it in a way that people, you know, like it, but it's pretty much true. Especially of his generation, his age, because I think he's 30 in his 30s or something like that, late 20s, early 30s. So, and there's some women there's some older women that act that way. And that young lady as well, she's a mess, absolute mess. She's an absolute mess. I don't know. So, okay, he brought her up into this lifestyle. They're no longer seeing each other, but he's expected to maintain that. No, that means he showed you something for you to now elevate yourself, not sit there waiting for some next guy to pay for you, or he should pay for your lifestyle. He showed you a lifestyle that you can have if you applied yourself. So she's a mess. And if that was me, I'd have dragged her out of the house a long time ago anyways. But that's simple as that. You know, I need a man to step up and pay my bills and all that stuff. Get out of here, man. So yeah, she's a mess. But that's how young girls are, and that's how the social media and the imagery that they portray is that. You know, you have to have this, and the man's got to be a baller, and he's got to be able to pay your bills and all these kind of things, and you know, Destiny's Child, pay my bills, and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of messed up the world and how the dynamics of the world is now. Not saying that women shouldn't have anything, and not saying that men should be the dominant force. It's not about it. It's 50-50. You should both bring something to the table, and whatever you're bringing to the table, that's what you're bringing to the table. So if you've got lots of money as a woman, or the man's got lots of money, but you're bringing something else as a woman or as a man, that's what you bring. Relationships about 50-50. It's not about who's got more, who's got less, who's empowered, who's got no power. It's about respect. And if you don't respect each other, then it doesn't matter what you've got. End of the day, it doesn't matter how good you look, or how, if you don't respect your partner, then where you're going to go from there. You know, everybody's looking for power and respect. Relationships is not about power. If it's about power, then you need to be a politician, because you know that's problems. If one person feels oppressed in a relationship, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So everybody's talking about money and power and women's rights and men's rights and men's ego and male and feminine energy and all this stuff. It's not about that. It's about respect. It's about respect. Male and female energy. At one time, the man's gonna be female, and next time it's gonna in a relationship. Everybody's gonna take up different roles. It's what makes the relationship grow at the end of the day. It's not about who's in charge and who's stronger than who's got bigger muscles and stuff. Who cares? It's all about respect. So yeah, that's what I've gotten out of this, you know. And we keep battling on about this energy thing, and it's like everybody wants to be the alpha, and you can't be an alpha in a relationship. You know, it doesn't make sense, because someone's going to feel aggrieved, especially nowadays. Back in the day, maybe, but nowadays, no.
Fidel, I'm going to let you come in.
Yeah. And I think Theo's touched on some of the problems that we have. So I want to explain, because I spoke about masculine and feminine energy quite a bit. So I need to clarify a few things and see if that makes it a little bit clearer. So masculine and feminine energy has nothing to do with roles. All right. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's an energetic thing, and we all have both within us. Okay. However, in a relationship between a man and a woman, and even a man and a man and a woman, there will always be one that is more masculine and one that is more feminine. At any one time, like an overall situation, not 100% all the time, the man's going to be in his masculine and the woman's going to be in the feminine. That's never usually the case. But one will generally be more masculine. The masculine leads, but leadership isn't about power, right? This is what I mean. Leadership is not about power. Good leadership is about service, right? If you ask me. Yeah. And it should be, and it's done with consideration, and it's only done with consent. And that is where the dynamic becomes more beautiful, and it's mutual respect. Of course, respect has to be there. Yeah. I hope that clarifies that a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, you know, we're hearing words like respect, and you know, there are, you know, both when you meet somebody, when you are in a new relationship, there is a part where you prove yourself to each other. Mm-hmm. And then that respect grows, and then, you know, the trust grows, and then the respect grows, and that's how relationships are formed. But I think what's happening is we're not even getting to that point. I think that there is this battle of, you know, it's a battle of the sexes. Who's going to be in control? Who's going to be the leader? And my thing is, you know, as I see, you know, I've always been brought up to know that one hand can't clap and one hand washes the other. You know, it's an old West Indian proverb that says one hand wash the other. And so if that's the case, then there is no leader, as you say, Fidel, in terms of the service, and you use the analogy of a dance when you're doing a tango, you know, or even let's bring it to salsa, because many people know for salsa. I don't know about tango, but salsa, and the man leads. He leads, but when he's leading, he doesn't do it aggressively. It's with a touch, and when he touches you in a certain way, you know the next move. And so for me, that's how a relationship is supposed to go. And there's times where he will have his hand up and she will do spin. She might pull her foot up, bring it back in, and do all these different moves while he's standing there with his hand up there. And she's doing all these different moves and doing her little butterfly thing and showing her little self off and spinning with her little skirt and being all feminine because the moves are feminine. Now, you know, she's not standing there holding her hand up while he's doing that. She's doing that. And so it's a point where you have to complement each other.
I think a lot of the issues when I speak to women who are like 30s and the whole concept of femininity and that it feels very triggering to them. Because again, femininity is associated with powerlessness and weakness. And again, we also have that misunderstanding about masculinity and leadership, right? Because we've been through so many generations of both being abused and therefore abusive, right? Both leadership and masculinity. We essentially have a mistrust of both. Women do not trust their own femininity. They don't trust the power within it. They don't understand what it is, and so they don't trust masculinity and masculine leadership, right? Understandably. And this is why we have this problem, because then essentially you've got women who are dressing up in their own masculinity to keep themselves safe, and to a masculine man that's a repellent. It isn't attractive. And so women who I get this quite a lot. So women who are like Miss Independent, I can sort myself out and everything else like that. They then talk about wanting a man who is more that than them. What they don't understand is that energy is just repellent. The more masculine a guy is, the more repellent a woman is when she's in that thing herself. He isn't going to want to hang around and try and crack you open and do all of that stuff. He's not. He's just going to go and find a woman who's already in her feminine. Am I making sense? Cool.
Yeah.
I can see Judy's. I can see there's little triggers going off in her head. It's cool. I know. I can feel it. So.
I was just trying to understand it. Hey.
Do you agree with that?
When I say the word feminine, how do you feel about that word?
I started to kind of have that look about me the minute you started talking about dancing, because the whole idea of masculinity and femininity, it's almost like we talk about it like it's set in stone. Like if we was to actually take and build this whole masculinity and femininity, then are we talking about the masculinity and femininity that's been there since the dawn of time, like in the Stone Ages, where the men go out to hunt and the women stay home and bed? Because that would then, I think for me, I challenge that. I don't know whether I believe yet that we are inherently that different. I'd like to think that if we was going to strive for a really equal society where we all have a place, where we all get to express ourselves and we don't get disadvantaged and we don't get pushed down and we don't get pushed into corners and told to do things that feel unnatural. So this idea of it being natural or unnatural, that's because of society. That's because we're told that men, boys do this and girls, women do that. And for me, I'd like to challenge that. I like to think to myself, is there going to be a day where you can have a salsa or you can have a dance and it's not led by a man and the woman twirls around and looks pretty, and then, you know, it's balanced, because I don't know how that's balanced, or whether or not you can have a dance and you all start in a line and you all do your thing and it turns into something else. So for me, I really struggle with this idea, because I feel like if we're going to be, as women, more empowered, we should have a chance to not be told this is what women are supposed to do, this is what men are supposed to do. If we had a kind of environment where you could just be a bit more free and see what happens, because we're in a new generation where we're only just start. It's not like we're 200 years in the future and we've seen this play out. We're only just starting, and there's not even equality. It couldn't be more unequal. Yes, women have started to get more of a voice, but it's by far not equal. Of course it isn't. It's only the whole reason why there was such a big thing that, you know, there's a woman kind of in the White House. You know, we're not there yet. So to talk about it as though it's like this thing, I feel like it all needs to be challenged. And why should... I don't like this femininity, masculinity. Let's forget all of that. And then just talk about, what do we really want? Okay, so you want somebody who respects you and appreciates you. What does that actually mean? Oh, so you talk to each other. You can say, oh, I really would like to do this. This is my passion. Oh, is it yours too? Let's do this together, instead of there being this duel. But I suppose for me, is the duel natural, or is it a construct that we're all supposed to fall into? And that's why I'm looking so confused, because I'm like, do I agree?
I want to just come in and say, I think that for me, when I use the term of a dance, it is to illustrate the togetherness of two souls moving as one. And that is what relationship is. But we have to acknowledge that there is masculine energy and there is feminine energy, because we are both, even though we are human beings with blood flowing through our veins, the same color, our hearts beat the same, heart rates and all of that, we think differently and we behave differently. Men are, are more factual, women are more emotional. That's a fact. That's just how it is. I'm not saying that women that can't think out of their emotions. I'm not saying that at all. But how we think generally as women, we do think with our emotions first, most of the time. Men is more factual most of the time. I'm not saying it doesn't change, but I'm saying as a general thing. And so I think that when we are in these situations and we're looking at what's going on, what the things have been said, how people are behaving, and how the state of the world is now, we as the older ones, we have to start looking at how do we create solution. And the whole tangent of I'm going to do this my way and I'm going to do this my way, what we're seeing is calamity, because men are against women, women are against men. And there has to be a place where we bring about peace. There has to be a place, because it's not just about us, it's about the young ones coming up after us. And if we don't get it in perspective and put things in place, it is going to be hell on earth for them. And so these are the things, this is what I'm thinking about. It's not just about me being, a feminist, and I am a feminist, and I believe that women can do whatever they want to do. But equally, I believe that men can too, because they've proved it for years in the past. It's always been a man's world. There's nothing to say it can't do nothing without a woman. That's what James Brown said, as far as I'm concerned, right? And he's right. But the fact of the matter is that we have to learn to live and work and love alongside each other. No one is the master, the boss of anyone else. We've seen that's happened in a male world in a lot of case scenarios, the man's been in charge, and the woman's ended up getting her face bust, her ass bust, or whatever else bust, right? And that's happened a lot. I'm not saying it's happened all over, but it has happened a lot. So how do we move forward? How do we stop this modern age women, those kinds of polarities, those kinds of things that we're hearing men say? How do we put a stop to that and have the respect that we deserve, and vice versa? And I'm going to bring in the Kingmaker.
Thanks. Right. Okay. I think in order to get to the future, we have to go a little bit back to the past and where all this started going wrong with kind of the Industrial Revolution, capitalism, and things like that, ownership models. So in order to get men to want and work for more than they needed, okay, in order for capitalism to work, men had to go out and do more work and acquire more possessions than they actually needed to survive, right? In order to do that, we created something called legacy, right? And the concept of leaving things. Now you didn't just have to provide for yourself and your partner and even the children, you then had to build a legacy that was going to get passed down to generations, right? So this concept of men working and earning and bringing in more stuff than they even could spend in their entire lives, so that they had a responsibility to pass money down to generations. In order to do that, you had to make men confident in the fact that the children that were being born were theirs, right? So am I making sense so far? In order for us to ensure that the children belong to the man, we had to own the woman. And that's where it all started going wrong, right? We then put a higher value because the work that men did got paid money, right? And we put a higher value on that than the stuff that women used to contribute to the community, right? So we're looking at things like medicine, we're looking at things like teaching, we're looking at all of the nurturing and everything else like that went on in a community, and we devalued that, and we still do. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world for producing plastic widgets that pollute the planet. Meanwhile, teachers and nurses get paid very little, and they're the ones that are raising the next generation and keeping us all alive, right? Whether that's men or women doing those jobs, we're essentially talking about masculine and feminine energy, right? Nurturing and production. This is where it's all gone wrong. We have overvalued masculinity and underappreciated femininity in general. And this is where the mistrust comes from, all right? This total imbalance. And so when we talk about masculine and feminine and leadership and compassion and all these stuff, we're still looking at it through a lens that one is better than the other, because one is seen as more valuable. We see leadership, we see as power, and we see production and everything else like that as something that generates money, and so therefore it is better, and it's not. So we have to go right back. And you talk about cavemen and women and stuff like that. Yeah, even as far back as that, when societies were living more harmoniously, when we were wandering around in small tribes, and it wasn't to do with ownership, it was about happiness and survival. Yeah, that's a much better place to start. And then we have to bring that good stuff in and try and figure out how we're going to do that in a modern world, right? Where women are perfectly capable of running multinational companies and men are perfectly capable of staying at home and looking after the kids, right? But that doesn't mean to say, this is where I say that the energy, the roles aren't associated with the energy. I can stay at home and be a stay-at-home dad and do that as a masculine man. And a woman can go out and run a multinational company and do it in her feminine energy perfectly well. And this is where we need to go with these concepts. We need to understand that.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Jaden, as the youngest person on this panel?
I agree. I just feel like we just need to change like societal norms, and that's even in the process of happening, because even the LGBT community and so forth, it's like people are changing their perceptions into something that it wasn't before, and that's coming more and evident as the days go on. But what I was gonna say was, again, like where my problem stems from, because again, speaking from my generation now, I would say I'm one of the older souls in my generation. I don't really pander to what a lot of my generation pander to, and one of the main things is this city girl thing that keeps coming up. And even as you was just talking, I was writing down notes because things that are really, really important to talk about and are really prevalent, like as a byproduct of this behavior, like they just don't get talked about. And I just feel like one thing that's really bad that I'd like to talk about is men, if you're not earning a ridiculous amount, like, so for me, for example, my age, if you're not earning a ridiculous amount now, you are looked down. If you're not wearing 400, 800 pound tracksuits now, you're looked down upon and you're made to feel like you're less. If your shoes ain't this, you're made to feel like you're less. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that's just from the opposite sex. I will say that's peer pressure as well from your bedrooms and your friends then. But from the opposite sex is the main people who you're looking to attract. That's where your trauma is coming from, I believe. And you know what I mean? There's a narrative a bit older than me, just a bit older than me. Even in Cardi B's music and one of her newest songs, the lyrics are a bit explicit. I'm not about to, but you know what I mean? It goes something along the lines of broke boys don't deserve sex. And this narrative of men that earn less don't deserve love is the core of it. And I believe that sentiment is what is being imbued throughout this toxic mentality that is being spread out to people of my age and my generation. And I feel like that's a lot of where the problem is coming from, because again, this mentality of people that don't earn a lot don't deserve love, it has really terrible ramifications, because the suicide rates for men, for example, in this country, crazy. Yeah. It's really bad to think that because a man doesn't earn a certain amount that he's made to feel like less. And even if the woman doesn't earn a fraction of what he does, the woman won't be looked upon in a certain light. But that's just in a generalization of a societal view that we all share. Like, women don't particularly get looked on the same as men if they don't earn as much, I believe. And I feel like there's a lot of things that need to change, but one thing that does need to remain constant is the equality as well, because even in the justice system, women are treated more favorably than men as well. And you know what I mean? I feel like women in a social sense, I wouldn't say in the workplace or politically per se, but I would say definitely in a social, sexual, maybe romantic sense. Yeah, they have a lot of power. They have a lot of power, and I feel like they have more than men. I feel like the balance, the tips have into the women's court, because in my generation, especially, as men, we are expected to wear £1,000 worth of clothing to impress a woman that is wearing £40, £50, pretty little thing, boohoo woman. Like, it is not equal. And my problem isn't that it's not equal. My problems is the ramifications and the trauma that it causes as well. And that's not to say women don't have their own, crosses to bear, but I do feel like that's a very prevalent thing, and that is very, very common as well. And a lot of men are being treated like they are feminine just because, of their financial situation. And even if you are feminine, that doesn't mean you're less of a man, is what I'd also like to point out as well. But I could go on for ages, but I'll just,
Okay, and I was just about to just cut you there.
Yeah.
Because when I'm looking at the time, we are actually nearly out of time. This conversation has been so good. I think it's been a really, really good conversation. We haven't even had chance to go into the comments. So what I'm going to do is we are due to finish at 11 because it's a new time. We're not finishing at midnight anymore because we've started an hour earlier. So what I'm going to do is, because I do want to just go through a couple of the comments, and I also want to get some feedback from you guys just before we end. And I think we've got about 5 minutes left on the clock. So what I'm going to do is add an additional 5 minutes, which I'll just look at the technical support and just make sure that's all right, that we can go over by curfew by 5 minutes, because I want to just get each of your points of view. And what I want you to also know is that Fidel is coming back. He will be back. He will be back, and he will be attending. He will be one of the speakers at the retreat as well. So yeah, I just want to get your from what Jaden has said. I just want each of you to just go ahead and just say you got 2 minutes to kind of just wrap up in a nutshell what Jaden has said. So Fidel, do you want to jump in? Because I see your.
I'm really grateful for what he just brought to the table. You know, I think it's really cool for certainly men of my age to be able to sit down and speak with young men who can articulate what they're feeling and going through. You know, because we don't often get the chance. I know I don't. I've got 3 daughters, and so yeah, thanks. And it's heartbreaking. You know, what he said is heartbreaking, and I get it, and I see it for sure. And like you said, Yvonne, this is the problem, isn't it? Unless we kind of address it, this is where we're going, and it is not a happy place, is it? It's not healthy, and it's not happy. What the answers? I don't know. You know, I don't pretend to bring all of the answers. I don't. I know that I'm on a quest to try and discover what the future looks like for modern men and modern women, and I can only bring what I've learned from our generation. See, where my concepts come from our generation, and I work especially with a lot of divorced men and women, and who have tried stuff, who have tried this homogeny where we can be equal but still be different. That's the way that I feel about it. I think when we confuse equality with similarity and we end up all trying to be the same, we lose sexual attraction for a start. And we lose that beautiful balance in the world, you know. But yeah, I think Jada made some great points.
Thank you for that. I'm going to bring in Theo, then I'm going to bring in Judy. Theo, what are your thoughts?
Jaden brought up some good points, and I think a lot of the situations we have now, Jaden hasn't changed from when we were younger. The only difference is just the price range of the clothing. That's the only difference, and it's carried on, and it's now we've become older, and it's no longer clothing. It's what people possess, house, cars, and all these kind of things, and it's still, you know, so the guys that don't have these things are still left to feel the same way. You can't have a woman, you can't have me, you can't do this because you're not earning a certain amount, because you don't have these things. So it's still the same challenge, but it's just a different concept. To you, it's clothing. To a man now, it's a car, or it's a house, or it's different things, because he's earning, I don't know, whatever he's earning, and so he can't get any love. So the death rate is high for men because of that. That's why you see a lot of men in that situation, because they're struggling. They're realizing they can't compete, and because they can't compete, they rather tear down a woman, because it's easier to do that than try to raise their game because of ability. You know, if you're a black man back in the day, schooling wasn't really the place for you. You wasn't going to be taught. You're going to get kicked out before they're going to teach you. You know, so you was always on the back foot from the get-go, and it's just now you're just an older version of a young man, just like you. So there's some men who are just an older version of you. They haven't actually gone past their teenage in terms of growing up, because they haven't had a chance to. So it's just it's just the same thing, and I think we just need to get past money. That's all it basically is. We just need to get past money.
Yeah.
It's not about money. Money is a tool, but we use it as a tool to control and dominate and empower.
Yeah.
And if your relationship is built upon that, then your relationship is gonna fall down. It's gonna fall down. Just like that young lady, her relationship was built on this man maintaining her, and the minute he lost his eye for her, her world fell down because she no longer got to wear she's not gonna have these things, so she's gonna hold on to it with her claws, and she said she's gonna mash up everything if he tries to take it off her.
Yes.
So it's about money, and we need to get past money. If you're looking at someone because they haven't got X, Y, Z, you're not seeing the man standing in front of you or the woman standing in front of you for who they are, what they bring to the table. You might as well. This is never going to work. It's never going to work. Just because somebody doesn't have a house, so what? You've got a house. We can live in the house. We have somewhere, but I can give you love. I can support you. I can hug you. You can talk to me. You know. So okay. Let's put it this way. I've got a house, you've got a house. Where do we stay? I'm here, you're there. I have a car, you have a car. I'm going to go to drive to the venue, you drive to the venue. When do we spend time together? Because we're so busy, want to cling on to our things. It's just things. You know, let's focus on what a relationship's about. It's about a relationship. It's a relationship, not a thingship. I have this, you have that. You know, let's tick off what you've got. Okay, my shoes cost £1,000, yours cost £200. Oh, we're not in the same ballpark. Who cares? We're both wearing shoes. You know, let's move past this, man. You know, we keep having these discussions about power and femininity and all that. It's not about none of that. It's not about that. It's about you as the person. How do you make me feel? How do I make you feel? How can we grow together? How can we love each other? It's not about this and that and all that, because we're already fighting. The minute we're looking at that, we're fighting. We're fighting each other. It's a fight, and nobody's gonna win. So the woman kicks the man out. She's single. The man, I think Lottie put something up. Some men have women lined up. So as soon as he gets kicked out of one house, he's gone to another house. So nobody's going to win in that situation. We're fighting. So someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. Okay, you kick the man out. Yeah, my idiot thing, rubbish, and this is that. But you're on your own now. In your big house, with your nice car, with your expensive clothes. Back at square one again. He's moved on to somebody else. He most probably won't be with that person for a long period of time, but it doesn't matter to him because he's doing his thing. So we just need to get past that and actually just see what we like and love about each other, and let's start again, man. Let's just readdress the balance.
Thank you, Theo. And I'm going to just go over to Judy. You've got 2 minutes. That's it. Actually, it's a minute and a half. Actually, less.
Well, I really respect and appreciate what Jaden said. I think it's really important to point out the impact on men and, you know, young people. What I thought when you were saying it, though, was that I don't think this is entirely to do with how women are, the modern day women. I think it's actually to do with society. You're in a generation where you have Instagram, you have TikTok, everything is visual. Those £400 tracksuits are not set by women. They're not set by girls. Sex sells, obviously. So the way that it's marketed is you getting that £400 tracksuit so that you can get a girl. But it's probably a man, and it's probably a very clever marketing that has made that so normal. It's 13-year-old boys that are trying to get six packs right now. That is to impress probably girls, but that is set by society's really ridiculous, you know, constructs of what a man is supposed to look like and what a girl is supposed to look like. So why the girl can get away with her £10 pretty little thing item, that pretty little thing item is probably about as big as my hand. It's probably just covering, you know, what's left of her decency, because that is what women are supposed to be looking like now, because we've got the likes of Little Mix and stuff influencing our children. So I think it's about getting more in terms of a way forward. It's about being aware of how much we're all being manipulated, by this age-old construct of what is a man, what is a woman, what's men supposed to do, boys supposed to do, what's girls supposed to do. Girls are supposed to be polite and not be too vulgar in their language and not to aspire too high. And men are supposed to be, or boys are supposed to be, you know, big, fit, strong, and provide and do all of these things. The whole thing is wrong. So I don't think it's to do with modern women of today being too entitled. I think it's about the powers that be who are manipulating us all to spend money that we don't have and trying to do things and sell ourselves for what is my personal opinion. But thank you for raising that.
Thank you, Judy. It's like we have the golden mic. I don't have it here. Yeah, I have a golden mic, but I didn't bring it today. It's at home in the other office. But yes, I thank you for what you have said. Thank you everybody for your contribution. Before we go, I do want to say there's a message here from JJ Sorrel Queen. Lovely Sorrel, by the way. Jaden, I have loved everything you said this evening. Great points. I admire your honesty and knowledge. Stay blessed. Donna MJ saying Jay made some valid comments. Can we go down on that thread a little bit more so I can just see, because there was some bigger comments there. Michelle Grenada says this episode has been enlightening. A part 2 is needed. Okay, you have to come to the retreat. Let's go. Let's go down a bit more. There was a comment from Michelle. The Facebook user says, Judy, great point. I think kids need to hear this. Absolutely. There's a comment from Michelle that I wanted to read before we go. Right, yeah, it's so concerning people are hung up on song lyrics when there is a whole industry behind it with their own agenda. Cardi B is with Offset. Her lyrics and relationship are mismatched, so why buy in? Well, this is it, and I love this point, and I think we mentioned this earlier. There's been so many other songs, generational, that have been, you know, talk about sex and talk about all these different things. You know, you can't we listen to the song and sometimes we don't agree with what's been said, but yet still we sing it and it's all good and it's all fine and dandy. But the point of the matter is that we can't base our lives on the musical or the lyrical content of a song. That's you know, we can't look too hard into that and let that run our lives and let that be, you know, the thing that paves the way for us. So thank you for your comments. We've had a great show. This has been the first show of the second season, and it has been an absolutely amazing show. And I want to thank everybody that's here. Jaden, I want to thank you for taking part. Theo, I want to thank you for taking part. Judy, I want to thank you for being here. And to the Kingmaker himself, you know, Fidel, thank you so much for being here, putting yourself on the line and talking. And if you want to hear more from Fidel, let them know where they can find you.
The main place I cause trouble is Facebook these days. So yeah, just search me up on there. I run a men's group, the Modern Man Club, and a women's group, which is, I think there's about 800 or 900 women in there and me. So that's an interesting space.
Yeah, I bet it is very interesting, Fidel.
The Modern Man Coach on Instagram and LinkedIn and all those other places. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm easy to find.
Yes, there's only one Fidel, isn't that right?
There is. There's definitely only one Fidel Beauhill in the whole world.
Yeah, that's right. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks again, Fidel, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for
having me, Yvonne.
Oh, you're welcome. And you will see more of Fidel before September. We will have Fidel back on the show before we go to the retreat. But if you are interested in coming to the After Dark retreat, we have another speaker who will be here next week. His name is Des O'Connor, and it's not the comedian, because he's passed away. That's not even funny, but it is. But never mind.
Des, isn't it? A great guy.
Yeah. So next week we've got Des O'Connor coming on to the show. You can't make this thing up, you know. This is so non-scripted, you know. I just say things off the top of my head. Right. So you know. So Des will be here next week, and we will still be talking the topic of relationships. So guys, thank you so much, so much. God bless you guys. Those of you who are here, make sure you join the Facebook group, the After Dark Facebook group. Make sure that you stay connected. Like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channels. I want to thank MediaNet Live TV. And God bless you all. And we will see you again next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. till 11. But for now, ciao, ciao. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
You ready? You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it.